The You're Still Here podcast is brought to you by Airbnb, the place you go to when you want to use someone else's home as your own for a short period of time. If you are an owner of a property and you plan on returning to that property and live there, I do not fathom how you can be an Airbnb owner. Think about it. The overwhelming majority of people, even if it's not even the overwhelming majority, even if it's 50-50, the amount of people who do disgusting things in your bed, the guest bedroom, and I know you could literally throw out every piece of furniture. It could be all used furniture that you got from a garage sale, but the ghosts of those acts still live on. Like sometimes I say when I'm walking around downtown in New York City, I don't like you feel the crooked Wall Street people from yesteryear. They're ghosts. You hear their voices surrounding you. Maybe it's just me, but I feel them when I'm down there. And it's the same type of thing with Airbnb rentals. If you're just allowing people just willy-nilly, I think of the times that I've gotten Airbnb, my friend's bachelor party in Montreal, a house near Arizona State in Scottsdale, and I don't know how many other ones that I've had, but you got to be crazy. If this is your property, even if it's a rental, let's say I had an apartment, in Brooklyn. Now let's say I wanted to leave for a full month, pandemic, whatever, wanted to move out, and I just rented that to somebody else. What the hell are they doing in my bed on my desk? You know, you want to talk about a background check? If I was renting out my place, forget about background check. I would hunt these people down more so than I even hunted down a random girl I was excited to go out with. I would hunt them down even further than that. And trust me, I've had some good hunts in my time. The online dig, the online hunt. So Airbnb, I had one experience that I didn't really enjoy. Like the house in Scottsdale was unbelievably fantastic. These bedrooms were huge. They were luxurious, big bathrooms, and we treated it respectfully. Respectfully, as in we took care of everything in the house. We may have added to the ghosts that live in that house, if you know what I'm saying. But it was as advertised. Then was my friend's bachelor party in Montreal. They got us, and I don't like to get got, but they got us. We got a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom house or apartment type place in Montreal, and it was like one of those listings on eBay. They just shined it up real nice for the pictures. They made it look a lot better than it was, and we kind of got scammed. I remember there was like this doorway that said like do not enter, so you could go anywhere in the house except like this one chained up doorway. I swear to you, I felt like I was in the People Under the Stairs, where there's like this community of people living inside the walls and underneath the stairs in an early 90s, I believe, Stephen King horror movie. I would encourage you to check it out, but I don't know how well it's aged. I know it was scary to me at the time. It's probably an absolute joke now. So, yeah, we got scammed by Airbnb. Speaking of which, we didn't have it last week. Let's give a nice return to our scam of the week.
It's a scam.
That's a scam.
What a scam that was.
So this was all a scam, huh?
Now, this is the Airbnb scam. The Airbnb scam. Not to be confused with us being scammed by a guy on Airbnb who showed us pictures and then the place wasn't actually like that when you got there. That is a Airbnb scam, one that most people are familiar with. Let me tell you about my Airbnb scam. This one is really, this is bad, but that's how you know you're going to enjoy it. So the Airbnb scam is when you're a guy and you don't make a ton of money. You can even make a regular amount of money, a normal amount of money, nothing to be ashamed of. But you aren't that upper echelon, the type of guy who needs to be that way to attract a specific type of girl. So I'll phrase it this way. If you're chasing a girl who is more or less out of your league because they're out for things like money and the Instagram pictures, the Airbnb scam is when you take them out and rent a place for the night that's way above your affordability to live there. And I'm talking about like way out of your affordability. However, you can afford to have that place for one night on Airbnb. So you Airbnb a place just so the girl thinks you live there, because that place is the type of place that a girl like that is looking for in a guy. So you with me? I believe I referenced this 5 years ago in one of my first parodies. The Airbnb scam. Renting out a place way above your pay grade on Airbnb just so a girl who's into those type of things and material goods and Instagram uploads and social media pictures thinks that you actually live there, and then that's the apartment and life that awaits her if she continues to see you. The Airbnb scam. When you need to take down a girl who you could not possibly take out without that place that you can't afford. That one is, I'll just straight up say, that is, I told my friend about this once, and I was like, man, what a scumbag I am just to think of something like this. Renting out an apartment that I can't afford just to impress some girl who's into things that I should not even be attracted to anymore because she's like that, but she's so hot that I want to trick her into fooling around with me. So I get a place for one night that's way above my pay grade and hope to remove any sort of pictures that are in the apartment. So I go, I am a scumbag. He goes, you're not a scumbag. You're resourceful. And he's one of those guys who will find a shred of positivity in anything. So you know who you are if you're listening. I appreciate you making me feel better on that day. I don't believe I've ever done the Airbnb scam. And if you're thinking, oh, you would know if you did it. No, I don't. I know I've come close. I've come close. Oh, don't act like you haven't hotel tonighted. Okay? So I guess I'll take a minute and update the situation from last week. I had my crybaby episode where I was somewhat upset that I was yanked off of Instagram without knowing why. I'd like to report that I did in fact get my account back. I believe it's due to my bunker work, the steps that I took to get it back, and I'm not telling you what those are because in the event that this happens again, I'm not going to be the guy who spilled the beans and gets everyone else's accounts back, and then all of a sudden they rechange the rules for getting your account back, because I think I may have uncovered the hidden tool, and I'm not telling any of you. You want to know why? Because you're not sharing these episodes enough. You're not sharing the podcast enough. So you do not deserve to know what I did. Actually, I got the perfect thing for you. I will tell you how I got my Instagram account back, and you can learn what to do if you're in a similar situation. If you subscribe to my Patreon that I created because I had no Instagram, like I had mentioned last week, and I wanted to give people a place to go in the event that it remained deactivated. So if you want to know how I got off of Instagram, that's what I'll do. At the end of this episode, I'll make this as they say, Patreon exclusive. I will have a Patreon exclusive part of this episode where I tell you how exactly I got my Instagram account back. So it is back. I am reinstated. And the reason I'm glad is because, like I believe I had mentioned, that is the platform where I have the largest audience. I have the most amount of followers there, so that would have been the worst one to lose, because that's the one that gives me the largest chance to quote unquote blow up. Because obviously if you have a couple thousand followers and you do make a hilarious video, there's enough of a snowball that can get rolling to get it to the next level. So it is back. However, if I'm being honest, I kind of wish, no, I don't. I take that back. But I do think it would have been beneficial for me to have another few days where my account wasn't active because I really wanted to take the time to fully evaluate TikTok and YouTube and dedicate more time to those platforms. Because those platforms, from what I understand, they provide a larger amount of opportunities to be seen by people you don't know. TikTok for certain. They show video. That's why random people are going viral. Now, it's not very sustainable for those random people because they make one funny video, so then people give them another chance and go, oh, let's watch them. Oh, that's right. They're just a nobody. But then YouTube, a little less so. It was like that in YouTube's beginning where it tried to suggest creators to other people, but you can spend a long time reading articles and watching videos explaining how they slowly went away from that. What they did was, as they gained their monopoly, as YouTube dominated that landscape of like user-generated video content, they relied on content creators and individual people to get them to that point. And the minute that they had a monopoly because of those very people, they suppressed the creators and they uplifted the traditional media outlets. Like, you ever wonder why when you're searching for something, it shows, CNN on a particular issue, 16,000 views. 16,000 views on the issue that you searched, but it comes up first. And then 29th down the list is maybe an independent journalist or just a personality that you personally enjoy. And you see they have 400,000 views, but it will not show up in the top 10. That is simply because of what YouTube did once they had a monopoly kind of on this type of platform. Because not many people, as much as I love Vimeo's persistence, not many people are taking their talents to Vimeo. But I got to give Vimeo credit. Vimeo's honestly, they're like me. They refuse to throw in the towel. I feel like I remember Vimeo since the creation of YouTube. I feel like it's been around since YouTube's opening day, and it's still around. They don't care. They don't care that they're in a distant second place, and I mean like a miles below second place, but they're just saying, nope, we're here. You upload 1080p, 4K, we're giving you all the features. I don't care that we ain't making money. We're sticking around. So, Vimeo, I appreciate your stubborn nature, and I'm secretly rooting for you. I am. I'm putting some videos on Vimeo. That's right. Where the hell was I going with this? You want to know what it's like in the mind of somebody with ADD? Now I have to rewind the clock. Vimeo, YouTube. Yes, I'm back. So YouTube, what they do is they uplift certain outlets. Now, I don't know if they have what type of deals they have with these outlets. Like, and it's the same type of thing with Google results. If you search on Google, if you search something on Google and then open up DuckDuckGo, which is a separate browser, one that's gaining more traction because of what Google's doing, you're not going to see the same results. Google uplifts specific results and suppresses other results. This is not debatable. You can go right now and search. Search for something and then compare the two results. And the more polarizing your searches get, the more drastic the differences are in those search results. It's no different on YouTube. It's uplifting the ones that it wants you to see. It's kind of like it's kind of like bumpers in a bowling alley. It's just it wants you to hit those pins, and it's gonna guide you the other way. Like, you got to try very hard to throw a spare. You know what that reminds me of? What YouTube's doing? This is what the WWE did. So when the WWE was threatened by WCW, and they didn't have their tentacles on the whole industry, that's when they put out, in my opinion, the most entertaining content ever. The Attitude Era was spawned because of the competition, because they needed to beat WCW. So they were willing to do things that might turn sponsors off, but it was the viewer who was the winner, because they were doing things that were out there. And that out there stuff was unbelievably entertaining. And it allowed people like The Rock and Austin to flourish, because they were allowed to take themselves, who they were, and see those characters out to the fullest. Because wrestlers, they really are the best versions. I think Jim Ross said this. They're extensions of themselves, but magnified. And when they let The Rock and Austin go no holds barred, it allowed them the freedom to create those characters, which were some of the best characters in the history of wrestling. And that's obviously noticeable to the point where The Rock is an international celebrity now, and Austin's done a ton as well. But now, ever since they knocked out all their competition, there's serious threats. And I know there was TNA, and then now there's what is it? AWF, something like that. It's so good that I don't even know what it is. But once McMahon had the industry to himself, what he did was he watered everything down so that the advertisers felt comfortable reusing him. So he went from a children's product to basically an NC-17 product. Then once he won, he went back down to a PG-13 PG product simply to sell the most advertisements and make the most money. That's kind of how it worked, and that's what you see on YouTube. They got rid of anything that's relatively controversial because they don't want to give advertisers any reason to doubt putting money into their platform. And what that results in is the banning of the very creators, not even if it's not the banning, but the suppressing and in some cases banning of the very creators that made that platform thrive to begin with. So that's nice. That's nice. I guess then again, it's a fair trade, right? It is a fair trade, even if YouTube really stuck it to them. If I was at YouTube, because I'm a relatively honest person, you know what I would look at them in the eye and say? I'd say, look, well, I got news for you. You know what you were going to do if YouTube didn't exist? Nothing. You'd be one of those nobodies on Vimeo. And then you may even get fired from your job because a video of you is going to somehow surface. You are only in a position to be mad at me because of me. If it wasn't for me, you literally would have nothing to even say right now because you'd be nowhere. That's what I would say if I was at YouTube. Don't be mad at the very person who created you. Okay, I can do whatever the hell I want. So that's me defending YouTube after crushing YouTube. But there is a certain amount of that that's true. It's like when some of the fighters in the UFC, they go off on Dana White for paying them. And while it's true in the moment, right? Like they're helping generate these massive stacks of money and they have to fight for every dollar. But to the same extent, if it wasn't for the UFC and Dana White who built up that product, there would be no market for them to make anything close to that amount of money. So it really is a catch-22. It's a catch-22 because he can say, look, if it wasn't for this company, you would make 10% of what we're offering you. And now, because we built this company, you have the audacity to say you should be making X? Yeah, where were you when this company started? How about that? Defending the corporation. Defending the big guy. No, I'm just being fair. If I built something and then this thing that I built allowed somebody to thrive and then they started getting angry at me for the next thing that I did. Anyway, I don't even know. Oh, yes, this was because it all came to me talking about the platform evaluation that I wanted to do. And I still am going to focus on those platforms. I'm going to use that temporary banning because, like I said, who knows? Could be a permanent banning coming. This could be them allowing me to collect my belongings and say my goodbyes over the next few weeks. So I spent time on YouTube and also TikTok. TikTok is really, now that I've spent a good amount of time on that For You page evaluating what's there, it's pretty freaking funny, man. Not actually funny. It's the absurdity of it's funny. So Instagram is a bunch of people telling you that, like, hey, look at my life. It's great. It's great. I mean, I'm clinically depressed and I look up at the ceiling wondering how I'm going to wake up the next day. But look at me on this boat, baby. TikTok is the result of about 2 generations worth of imbeciles. They post these basic points and are perplexed by the most normal things in life. And it gets a ton of traction on the platform. People will upload 15 to 30 second videos. Most of them are under 15 seconds. Where I saw one today, a girl goes, explain to me how people are in an actual relationship. Like, how do you go from just being, oh, I'm a person and you're a person, and then we're in a relationship? This is what perplexes people now. They are dumbfounded at the fact that, oh, one person hangs out with another, they like each other, so they keep hanging out, and they're in a relationship. Was it that difficult to comprehend that point? There's so much of it like that. There's so much of it like that. There's a bunch of people, extensions of the Instagram preachers, the preachers who would give you a quote and then show you a picture of their ass, but then say, oh, life in the rear view mirror is never as clear as it is in the front windshield. Some nonsense. But I will give them this. At least on this platform, they have the guts to say it to your face. This platform is you got to show yourself and you have to actually upload videos. You can't hide on this platform. See, Instagram, you can hide behind those heavily manipulated pictures. It's a picture platform. As much as they try to integrate video, you could still just be that hot, mediocre person. And I say mediocre because you live in pictures, so they can be heavily manipulated. So I will give it to TikTok that they allow for only video, really. You can't get by with just pictures. So on one hand, you get a way clearer indication of who you're actually dealing with because they got to look at the camera. You hear how they sound. Oh, actually, no, you don't, because you know what they do? These absurd voiceover things. They do these voiceover things where they take somebody else's words. This is a lot. I would say this is 25% of the videos on there, if not more. I would say 25 to 33% are these videos where they take sentences said by somebody else. Like imagine they may even take something from this podcast and then they lip sync the very words that I say. Is this how bad it's become? Is this how much texting is murdering them that they can no longer even think of they're perplexed by a simple thing like how two people start dating and then they can't even say their own words. They need to use somebody else's words and then just say them. Like I said a couple years back, we are turning into Planet of the Apes. There's only going to be two people who left that are speaking, and me and Stephen A. Smith. But really, nobody speaks anymore. They take other people's words and they just lip the words to them. So there's a lot of weirdness going on TikTok. You will find random funny stuff for certain. And I will compliment their algorithm. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks back. If you like tech hacks, it will show you a bunch of tech hacks that you've not thought about on your iPhone or your MacBook or whatever it may be. If you like, video editing. So it suggests to me a couple creators who give you tips on Premiere and Photoshop. So I will give their algorithm credit. It shows you what you want to see. But when it comes to the mega star, what really gets traction, oh, by the way, what do you know? Attractive people. There's no getting around this, ladies and gentlemen. You can complain all you want. There's nothing you can do, okay? Because we are part gargoyles, our culture. We are. Given the option, if two people are going to read us or show us the instructions on what to do when you get on a plane, like, when the stewardesses stand in front of you and do the seatbelt thing, and they show you how to put on a seatbelt. they click how funny is that? They just take this free seatbelt and just click it into each other. Like, oh, how many people say like, oh, yes, I was going to actually put it around my neck and pull. I don't understand. But now let's say you have to go through that instructional tutorial. If that girl is a 9 doing that, are you watching it? You're watching it from beginning to end. You're watching the whole tutorial of how to put on a seatbelt. If that girl's a 5, what happens? Those AirPods are going in and you're listening to whatever's on your phone. I wonder how many people haven't made the jump to TikTok because they only post pictures. They know they can manipulate the pictures a whole ton. Like they could use all those filters and cover up all this, but there's only so much that even those beauty filters can do on a video platform. Those boomerang things? You know what my take was on boomerangs? I always thought that when they invented those for Instagram, that boomerangs were invented to be the exact amount of time, the maximum to the millisecond amount of time that somebody can create a video and you could somehow still not really know what they look like. Like, I feel there was extensive testing when they created those boomerangs. Like, they measured, like they tested. All right, let's try 2.1 seconds. That's a little short. All right, let's try 2.18 seconds. That's all right, 2.14 seconds. They calculated through trial and error and extensive research the exact amount of milliseconds where you can upload a video and say, yeah, this is what I look like. Check out this video. but yet you still can't really understand what somebody looks like. You can't get a true grasp of what somebody looks like. It's kind of like how Major League Baseball is always commended about the 90 feet between home plate and first base and second base, because through all the years that have gone by, it's the perfect amount of time where somebody can be caught stealing or they can be safe. The 90 feet was calculated perfectly. And it's the same type of thing with those boomerangs. So Mother's Day just passed. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Can't imagine many moms. Actually, no, there might be a few moms. There might be a few young moms who listen to me. Shout out to my mom who left me at a bagel place one time when I was a kid. Oh, true story. My mom just left me at a bagel place. And I was really young. And this is when people actually cared for each other. And an elderly gentleman, from what I have one image in my head of standing with this guy outside the bagel place as he was holding my hand. And now, see, you're thinking in a 2020, oh my God, old man holding a young boy's hand. This is when people were good human beings. And he was watching after me until my mom realized I wasn't in the back seat and came flying back to get me. And this man was waiting there. But it doesn't change the fact that I was left at a bagel place. My mom told me that story of how much she freaked out when she looked in the back seat and I wasn't there. It was literally the Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. That's who I was. It was that Kevin moment. And my mom is equally as loud and crazy as she is. But shout out to my mom. My mom's always been the coolest, always super upbeat. It's been an unbelievably, with a capital unbelievably difficult year for her, losing both her parents, my grandparents, and, I hate to even say this out loud, but her son and my brother. I tried just telling her that, as long as we still have each other along with my other brother, there's still many good memories to be had in the future. And also a happy Mother's Day to my grandma, who passed away a little over a year ago, in February last year. My grandma was one of a kind. Classic Italian grandma who, if you want nothing, it's impossible. If you want to eat a little bit, you say you want nothing. If you want a regular amount, you say you want a little bit. It's that tier up system. She was one of the best cooks. I swear to God, if you squeeze me, marinara sauce might come out my pores because of the amount of chicken parm she made for me throughout the course of my life. My grandma was one of a kind. She never, ever, and think about this, with my blood, she never had one bad thing to say about anybody, as long as she lived. I never heard her talk shit on anybody. And conversely, my grandfather, he lived for it. He would talk shit on every single person. Now, I'm going to, if you're watching this on video, you'll see when my grandma was talking to her sister, my aunt, I call her my aunt, I guess my great aunt, when she was talking to her sister about the place they grew up, my grandfather would face me as they were behind him, so they couldn't see his face, but I clearly could. And as they were talking about, like, oh, and how great was the water right in the back, he would make faces kind of like the dog from Duck Hunt, like giggling. He looked like a silent actor, like showing me, like, yeah, they think they lived in a good place. He criticized anybody and everybody just like a traditional Sicilian person would. If they weren't from his exact town, then they were from an awful place. That was his philosophy. But my grandma, I can tell you so many stories. When I was a boy in Disney World, when I was like 7 years old, my grandma had an issue. She farted very loudly, and she had no clue that she did it. I don't know how that works, but she farted very loud, and it was a traditional Looney Tunes fart. Like, it sounded exactly like a cartoon fart. It wasn't just a little squeaker. And I remember being on the elevator heading down to the lobby. I don't have many memories of my first trip to Disney. Really, not many. I have few images in my head. But the one thing that I truly remember, like like an actual memory. There's a video that plays in my mind, was when my grandma, it was me, her, my older brother and my mom in the elevator and another family, and my grandma proceeded to rip the loudest fart you could ever imagine right in the elevator. And I remember afterward, we all just made the embarrassed faces. Even as a kid, I probably didn't even care. But I remember after, we're like, Noni, why'd you fart? She goes, what? Like she what? So funny. So funny. So yeah, she was quite the farter, but also an unbelievable heart. I got another really funny story with my grandma. I remember when I was a senior in high school, I was sitting in like the kitchen table or something, and I was going through some college applications. And I was filling some out, and my grandma asked me what I'm doing, and I tell her, Noni, I'm just filling out some college applications. And she was asking me where I was applying to. Then she said to me, like, why don't you apply to Howard? I go, where? Howard. Howard? Noni, I don't think, I don't know if Howard's the right school for me. I don't know if I'd quite fit in. But she actually meant Harvard. You know those Europeans, the V's are W's, the W's are V's, and they struggle. So she wanted to say Harvard, so she said Howard. Just make the V a W. Harvard. Harvard. Now put a little euro on it. Howard. So she meant Harvard. My grandma asked me why I wasn't going to Harvard or applying to Harvard. And I simply told her, I'm like, Noni, I have good grades, but not good enough to get into Harvard. You know what she said to me, like a typical Italian grandma? Her response to I don't have the credentials to be accepted into Harvard was, do they know how good looking you are? That's what she said. She insinuated that I should include a picture of me in my application so that the review board could be like, oh my God, well, clearly we cannot deny this guy. Look how handsome he is, based on the word of his non-biased grandma. So yeah, my grandma legitimately told me that I should apply to Harvard because once they knew how good looking I was, they would have no choice but to accept me. That was a grandmother's love to its fullest. So I'm happy to be back with you guys. This episode feels a little more normal than last week. Last week was the sad puppy act. This is back to the normal variety hour or half hour. But if you want more content, then, like I said, go to my Patreon. I will include an additional piece of this podcast, which I'm going to film right now. Like after I'm done with this message, I'm going to hit record and start another piece of it for you to enjoy only on Patreon. And that will include how I got myself undeplatformed on Instagram. So thank you for joining me on the podcast. Please share this. Please do whatever you can to help me out because I need your help. I need your help. All right, everyone, take it easy. We'll see you next week.